So I have a client, Tom and Tiffany.
Oh, good.
Actually, it's a couple. They're a lovely couple.
Good.
And guess what? They want to go home shopping, Dylan.
Home shopping. Well, good for them. Then they're probably all over Realtor.com and Zillow, and they need a pre-qualification and a realtor, and then they'll need inspections and a WINMIT and 4-point and termite and insurance and flood and application and disclosures and e-signing and earnest money and income documents.
Stop! Hello, everybody. My name is Barry Horvath, and this is Moving Forward TV, your local market update.
And I am Dylan Gaston. Thank you for joining us today. So yes, there is an awful lot that goes into buying a house.
You think?
Yeah, think?
I think Tom and Tiffany are in for a real treat.
Yes, they are. People call all the time. I know you like making fun of me on that, but people call all the time, and they're when they're at the beginning stages and they're looking at houses and they're on Zillow and they're on Realtor.com and they really don't know. They just see a house that they like and they don't know anything about other than to call up and say, "What's your rate?" Probably the last question to ask.
Do people even call an asset anymore?
Believe it or not, sometimes they do. But there's a lot of steps, as you know.
Yeah, if you haven't bought a house in the last few years, it's a whole different world out there right now. And it's like a maze of things.
A maze of things.
It is. It's very complicated, and you really need to work with a professional who can help guide you through the maze.
The maze.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're going to do today.
So we need a little profile on Tom and Tiffany.
Okay, so go ahead.
A little background. No, I'm not going to talk about that. I mean, I think for privacy reasons, we probably should not disclose too much about them, especially since our producer gave me a visual background that I don't
shall
want
we
to
say
disclose.
One of them is self-employed?
Yeah, 1099. Yeah, that's it. So okay, so
let's start at the top.
Let's start at the top. You're all excited. You get online. You're on Zillow. You're on Realtor.com. That seems to be the place where everybody wants to go. And they get on the computer and they look at all these houses and they see the payment calculator and they're like, I can afford that. And they just, they have no clue though. They just see the visual of the pictures. And that's where it all begins really, because it becomes a dream.
Yeah.
But how do you get to the dream? Make it a reality.
To the closing table.
And that's the hard part because it's just not what it used to be. So we're going to guide you through that maze and hopefully make it simple, clear. Well, it's never simple.
We're going to try and make it as simple as we can for you. Okay, so the very first thing you should do is just start with a pre-qualification.
So, pre-qualification basically to find out what can you afford.
Right.
And can you afford it.
Right.
And it's going to be based on how much money you have down and how much income you make. I mean, it's no less simpler than that. So, and then once you get pre-qualified, you got to have a partner in crime.
Right.
Let's call him a realtor.
Right. Get a realtor lined up. Absolutely get a realtor lined up.
And we're assuming that you have a good qualified loan originator you're working with already.
Right. So. And just remember when you are getting pre-qualified for your mortgage, one of the very first things your loan originator should ask you about is what your comfort range is, because a lot of times what you're comfortable with and what you qualify for are two different things. So keep in mind, we don't want to put you into something that you're not comfortable with. So come up with a realistic payment. I can afford $1,000 a month. I can afford $1,500 a month, whatever it is. And then we can work it backward and say, okay, at $1,500 a month, then you can probably afford around this much house. And keep in mind, it is all just estimates because taxes and insurance factored into that make a difference. Your realtor is your friend.
Well, hopefully he's your friend.
Do not try and do this by yourself. Please do not try and just go out there and buy a house.
You know what's amazing too is
without having professional help.
Here's what I've learned for so many years of doing this is that people think they're going to get a realtor to help them find a house, and they think they have to pay for that.
I was just going to say that. Yes, you're
and they're
right.
Like, oh, I can't afford a realtor, so I'm going to do it on my own. So,
Right, right.
And that's the worst thing you could ever do. You want to get a realtor that you're comfortable with. I mean, let's face it, you're not, everybody, it's like getting married. You're not going to just marry anybody.
Right.
Right. Because you're going to be you're going to be in a 45-day relationship with this realtor, and it's going to be quite intimate at times because you are going to, they're going to guide you through this maze as well.
Yes.
And it can be a challenge.
Right. The realtor, as Barry was saying, you as the buyer do not pay for the realtor. And we probably should have prefaced this whole show. We said in the beginning we're going to preface it with, if you are a realtor watching, please forward this on to your home buyers, because today we are specifically speaking to home buyers. People who want to buy a house, thinking about buying a house, whether you're a first-time home buyer or whether you've bought 10 houses before and you're just looking to move. Things have changed. We are gearing this show specifically for you so that you know what to expect.
Hence
Get a realtor. You don't pay for it.
Tom and Tiffany.
Tom and Tiffany.
All right, so Tom and Tiffany now got a realtor.
And they found the perfect house.
And they've been pre-qualified. So now what do?
They find a house. So they find a house. And they are going to put a contract in on the house. When you put a contract in on the house, the things to expect is to write it's called an earnest money check. You are going to be asked to write a check for $1,000, $2,000, something like that. It tells the seller that you are committed to buying this house. It's a good faith deposit is what they call it.
And you establish a purchase price, who's paying closing costs.
Right.
And now that will clearly be outlined in the contract. So it's really important that you need the seller to pay closing costs. There's so many parts of that. And again, your real estate professional can help you with that. And then your next part, after you give your earnest money,
that's when your clock starts ticking. The seller signs, they agree, they accept your offer, your clock starts ticking.
And then that clock begins with the inspection period. And most inspections are typically 10 days. So a 10-day inspection period means for the next 10 days, you're on pins and needles because you could either walk away because of something, a defect maybe you found in the house, or you found out your mortgage wasn't going to go so well. You can actually walk away during that inspection period.
Right.
That is your right as a buyer to do so.
So keep in mind, you as the buyer, you really are very busy in the first 10 days. From the time you found that house, you say, oh, phew.
They go away on vacation after that.
Yeah, don't go on vacation.
That's a bad idea.
But you think, oh my gosh, we finally found a house after looking at 50,000 houses. You finally found a house. Oh, phew, it's done. No, it's really just starting, and you are very busy in the first 10 days of the process. You are a very busy person. You have to line up your inspections, and your realtor will help you with this, because you have to get things like a wind mitigation, and you have to get sometimes a 4-point inspection. You have 5 days to make your mortgage application, because that all has to be done. Mortgage application, the formal application, doesn't happen until we have a property address. Before then, it's all preliminary. Once we have a property address, that's when the formal application starts. You only have 5 days to make that application, so time is very much of the essence during the first 10 days of when you sign the contract.
And you know what? That wind mitigation can actually help you establish, because your insurance rate, that can be the difference of whether you can afford the house or not afford the payment and qualify.
Exactly. That's why it's very important.
Remember that insurance counts towards part of your debt ratio.
Right.
So it's so important that they know that, and it's part of their payment. So
and the wind mitigation can help lower your insurance costs. So the other thing within those first 10 days that you're going to be wanting to do is, in addition to getting your application done, your documents gathered, your home inspections done, you're also going to be wanting to get some insurance quotes and things, because we want to make sure that you can afford your payment. If it turns out your insurance is going to be through the roof, then maybe that's making you a little uncomfortable. And as Barry said, you only have 10 days to get all of this stuff done to where you can cleanly walk away from the house and say, you know what, I can't do this.
And of course, your insurance agent, one of the first things they'll do is let you know, is it in a flood area?
Exactly.
If it's in a flood area, guess what? That's another insurance premium. Again, that goes into your debt ratio. And again, are you comfortable with that payment being this much more?
Right.
Because you have $2,400 a year in flood insurance.
Right. And that could blow your debt ratio or blow your comfort zone. So,
Yes.
you know, you might want to walk away at that point.
And then, of course, now you're going to get into the whole application.
The whole mortgage application. And as I said, you have 5 days to make that mortgage application. And your mortgage originator, your loan officer, that is your other partner. So you have your realtor partner who is going to hold your hand, walk you all the way through all of this. And you have your loan originator, your loan officer, who is going to be your other partner, who is going to hold your hand and walk you through. It is a lot to go through, a lot of documentation that has to be processed and put through, and it takes a long time. The whole process, start to finish, from the time you have a contract, is about 30 to 45 days. So keep that in mind as you go through.
When is it 30 days?
When is it 30 days? It can be.
Okay.
I've done it in less than that, 26
All right.
days.
So
yay.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
How many?
Well, that's making you hungry, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Because if I got to wait 45 days to have some raspberry coffee cake, I'm not going to be happy.
Let's have raspberry coffee cake first.
Let's see what Casey's cooking up. We'll be right back after this.
I'm Casey Coedetti, fresh from Florida. This is Chat and Dish, and today I'm going to show you how to make an amazing fresh raspberry coffee cake. For this fresh raspberry coffee cake, we only need 10 simple ingredients. Let's go over them real quickly. 1/4 cup butter, 1 egg, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of self-rising flour, 1 cup of sugar, 3/4 cup of whole milk, please, and then 2 cups about of fresh raspberries. And we're going to put a nice little streusel topping on our coffee cake, which consists of another 1/4 cup of butter, 1/2 cup sugar, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then about 1/3 cup of just regular flour. That's it. Let's go make our coffee cake. I've added my room temperature butter to my other streusel topping ingredients, and now I've just got a fork and I'm gently pushing the fork through the ingredients. And what I want to do is just end up with about pea-sized pieces. Once you've got your topping mixed up, just go ahead and set it aside. And then you want to get your mixer out, or you can do this by hand. But basically, we're going to mix together our butter and our sugar first. Once your butter and sugar are nice and light in color, go ahead and add your egg. Make sure your mixer is set on low speed and then gently pour in your milk. All right, I'm going to turn off the mixer, lower it a bit so that I can pour in my flour and my salt. And I turn the mixer off, otherwise the flour is going to fly everywhere. Okay, everything's mixed up. Our batter is nice and smooth. I didn't overmix it. It just takes a couple of seconds. I'm going to scrape off our paddle, set that aside, and now I'm going to take our lovely batter, bring it over here, and next up, we're going to be dealing with our raspberries. Ooh, this batter is absolutely fantastic. You know, it's so easy with the electric mixer, but it's just as easy if you want to do it by hand. And now, all we have to do is take these 2 cups of gorgeous fresh raspberries and pour them into our batter. I am ever so gently folding our raspberries into our batter. We really don't want to smush them. We want to keep them as whole as possible. And when I say fold, I just mean take a spatula and make a big, soft circle around. That's all you have to do. 4 or 5 times, your raspberries will be folded in. I've got a 9-inch springform pan that I have sprayed with nonstick spray, and now I'm going to gently spread my batter into my pan. It's time for the crumble. Just use your hands or a spoon and spread it evenly across the top of the coffee cake. And oh man, when I was a kid, I loved anything with this cinnamon, sugar, buttery streusel topping. Oh, my all-time favorite. Okay, we're ready to pop this into a preheated 375-degree oven for 45 to 50 minutes. Our fresh raspberry coffee cake is out of the oven. I've sliced myself a little tiny piece, and now I'm going to enjoy it with a cup of coffee. I mean, look at this. Isn't this gorgeous raspberries and a nice sweet cake, a strudel topping. I'm in heaven. Mmm. Oh, this is absolutely fantastic. As always, thank you for visiting and sharing this raspberry coffee cake with me. Until next time, think fresh from Florida, and I'm gonna miss you. Cheers.
Do you like raspberry coffee cake now?
I always did.
Do you like it more now?
I do, because Casey is an awesome cook.
I know. I don't know. It goes with my coffee. That's
I
all I'm
know,
going to
it's
say.
perfect. And we're hungry. You know, we tape the show in the morning, so
Yeah.
we're always hungry.
I had a banana today.
I'm
That
not a
should
good
hold me over
breakfast
till
person.
till-
Till you saw the
till- so
raspberry
it's-
coffee cake?
then it's over, right?
All right.
All right, so let's go back
get
to
on
the maze.
The maze, the maze. Okay,
So where are we at in the maze?
There's
You know,
a lot.
last
Tom
time-
and Tiffany have bought a house. They have, I shouldn't say bought a house. They have started the home buying process. They have
and
a
Tiffany
realtor.
hope
They
to buy
found
a
a house. They're in contract and they've started they're getting their inspections done. They're getting like good people. They're getting their inspections done. They're getting their mortgage application done. They're getting their insurance quotes done and all that. So
All right.
on the mortgage application.
So once they do the application, because you referenced like we don't kill as many trees as we used to. So the world now is more electronic. So you're going to acknowledge signatures electronically. And there may be a couple documents depending on, and I'm sure, I think there's, 5 documents that most lenders require
Thereabouts.
to be what we call wet sign.
Right.
And you simply sign them, you stick them in your scanner or fax machine, and they go off into La La Land and get attached to the file in La La Land.
Now, keep in mind, a mortgage application, there are a lot of things, like Barry said, the world has changed if you haven't bought a house in the last 5 years, and there's a million pieces of paper, maybe not a million, but there's a whole lot of papers that are going to need to be gathered, and a lot that has to be signed. So as Barry said, that we don't want to kill a forest. Although I do want to say that you can still, if you are not computer savvy, if you do not have access to a computer and you're doing everything at the library or something, then you might want to have the entire package printed, which is fine. Just know that with the new laws that went into effect back in October, it will take more time. If things are done electronically, the lenders are allowed so many days to get things out when it gets near closing. If the package was not electronically signed, then they have to, by law, account for mailing time and reviewing time. So it could potentially add about a week on to closing if you decided to wet sign, as we call it, the whole package instead of doing it electronically.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
So not killing a tree. That's
Or a
clear-
forest.
Or a forest. That's clearly not a Republican point of view, is it?
Stop.
Sorry. I just wanted to.
That was funny.
Anyway.
All right. Anyway, let's get on to documents, shall we?
I just want,
All right,
we are in political season here, so
I
it just
know.
seemed appropriate that,
So
you know.
political. I am so
Anyway,
not.
So now they signed electronically and didn't kill the forest.
And didn't kill the forest, and now we're gathering all of the documents. So as
Yeah.
we gather the documents together, let's talk about the stuff that's needed.
Let's talk about the first thing you're going to need is the income documentation, because
What does Tom do for a living?
Tom is a general contractor, and John.
Oh.
No, Tom. Tom is a contractor, and he has many aspects of his business. So he doesn't really get pay stubs. He is more of a self-employed borrower, as we call him.
So let me ask you a question about Tom. So then that answer. So Tom then does not work for somebody else. He actually owns his own business. Does he
Yes.
own the whole business?
Well, no, he owns 26%. So
26%. Just enough.
yeah. So if you didn't know, the rule is 25% or more.
You are considered self-employed.
Self-employed. So he hit the 26% threshold, ironically, and I don't know why he did that. You know, why didn't they make him 24%? Because
So he
when
has
they
partners in the business.
Yeah, when he signed the corporate papers, they didn't know he was going to have to qualify for a mortgage someday. Clearly.
So when we start gathering, the papers together, the first thing we ask for, of course, is pay stubs.
Now, his wife, Tiffany, she happens to be a nurse. Guess what?
She has pay stubs.
She has pay stubs, so we're going to
Yes.
use Tiffany's pay stubs.
Good.
And we're going to use Tiffany's W-2s. And typically, you will use 2 years unless you're going streamline,
Right.
like a Freddie Mac program where they only ask for 1 year. And that's again, get with your loan originator who can help you guide through the process.
Because here's where I was going to say it starts getting a little bit sticky. Okay, so we have one borrower is self-employed and the other one works for a big hospital. And they've both been on their jobs for a long time. So because Tom is self-employed and he owes 26% of the business, he actually has two sources of income. He W-2s himself, so he gets a regular paycheck, as well as Barry said, he's a 26% owner in the business. So that means not only do we need the personal tax return and W-2 so that we know he makes, but we also will need the corporate returns because he does own more than 25% of the business. So consequently, we need that. And we need the K-1s. So basically, what we're telling you is be prepared to give your loan originator, your loan officer, every single tax paper
Yes.
that your accountant prepares.
And with all schedules attached, because
Right.
you know, and I hate to tell you this, self-employed people, but they're going to look at all those write-offs that you do, and that is going to affect whether you qualify or not qualify.
Right.
And hopefully your loan originator did this at pre-qualification.
Right.
Because if you call them up and said, yeah, I make $15,000 a month, it's on my bank statement, well, guess what? It means nothing.
No.
It means what is the bottom line? So, you know, that's all part of the process. So.
Right.
And
Now let's talk about Tiffany for a minute.
Okay.
Tiffany is not self-employed, so right away you say, "Oh, yay, she just has regular pay stubs, and she's been a nurse
Is that-
forever, and she makes,
Wait a minute. What did you say?
$70,000 a
You said,
year."
Oh, you said, "Oh yay."
Oh yay! I always say, "Oh,
Oh,
yay!"
yay.
Why? Oh yay! Anyway, so Tiffany, she makes $70,000 a year or whatever because she's been working at this hospital for a long time, and nurses make quite a bit of money. However, I will say that keep in mind when we look at your loan originator looks at Tiffany's pay stub. Nurses especially, they get paid a lot of different ways. They get things called shift differential. Sometimes they work the night shift or whatever. Sometimes they work overtime. They get different kinds of things. So that's why I'm using...
Say all that 3 times fast for me.
That's why I'm using...
I want to hear shift differential, shift differential.
That's why I'm using nursing as kind of an example, because they do get various ways of getting paid and which ward or which department they're in, that kind of a thing. Well, if they're on...
There's nurse wards?
Well, if they're on
there still nurse
ER,
wards?
I've seen different pay
Really?
for if they're on
Is that what-
ER. It's yeah, I don't know. Maybe hospitals are different. I just know that there's when it comes to nursing, there's definitely different things. So what happens there? We can't just take the bottom line. An underwriter is going to need what's called a verification of employment form, a written verification of employment form, which means it's a form that your loan originator, your processor, is going to have to send out to the employer, and it has to break it down over the last 2 years.
Time out. This is getting way too complicated.
Let me just finish this. The last 2 years, they're going to have to break out what the base pay is, what the shift differential is, what the overtime is, that kind of, so they can average
Listen
it.
to me. Tom and Tiffany just want to buy a house. They didn't ask for a lobotomy, okay? That's a little too much.
Just letting Tom and Tiffany, if we set the proper expectations for Tom and Tiffany up front, that these are some of the things that's going to have to go through,
All right.
then everybody is
So
happy.
clearly, there's no one size fits all in this equation.
Right.
And I think that's your point.
Right.
So your income has to be clearly analyzed. Let's move on to where they're getting for down payment and where is that coming from. Let's talk about the assets.
The second big part, a lot of people think that just because you make a lot of money, I can buy a house. Not necessarily. There's another part to that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you are putting money down, you'll have to source it. Those are your assets, whether they be in the form of a 401k. Your bank statements are going to need provided. And after you get bank statements, be ready because you're going to need more bank statements that you don't even have yet that we haven't even told you about. And then there's
That's true.
also your gifts. Any gifts you're going to have to source.
Gift. We call it a gift.
Yeah, it's a gift. And of course, donorability. You'll have to prove that as well. So
What does donorability mean?
donorability means that, Lynn, I'm giving you a gift. I'm buying you lunch today.
You can't. We're not related.
All right, let's pretend you're my cousin, okay? How does that work?
So some of the things that you need to know is when you are
We're not
the down
related.
payment, the assets. So not only are we checking, and keep in mind, they're going to do a 2-month look back. So all of the money, we're not looking at so much what came out of your account, but we are definitely looking at what went into your account. And if all of a sudden $5,000 appears in your account on, like, a month ago, big red flags go up, and they want to know what is going on and where'd that money come from. They have to document and track every single dime that's going into the transaction. So keep that in mind. Keep all of your records, because your loan officer is going to ask for the last 2 months. If you are getting a gift from mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or somebody like that says, you know what, we want to help you out in buying your house, we're going to give you $2,000 or something like that to help out with the home purchase, that's great, but please don't do anything with grandma's $2,000 until you talk to your loan officer first, because there's very definite paperwork and a paper trail that has to be done so that we can
Which
see
brings us
exactly
to
where
our
that
next
came
point,
from.
copies of checks. Make sure you keep copies of all of the
Yes,
checks.
like grandma's check, we're going to need a copy of. Your deposit ticket, we're going to need a copy of. And then the donorability that Barry was saying, which means we need to see that grandma actually had $2,000 in her account that she was able to give to you. So we need grandma's statement as well. Now, keep in mind, I do want to put a little disclaimer in here. Not all loan products.
Little disclaimer.
I know. Not all loan products are like this. Some of them on the donorability part is a little bit more lenient than other products. But just to keep in mind, there will always be more stuff. There's no, it's funny, I get people who say to me right up front, so is that it? Is that it? We're doing the pre-call. No, it's never it.
It's never it.
There will always
You're
be
not
more
done
stuff.
until you get to the closing table.
I tell them, keep the pay stubs coming, keep the bank statements coming, keep the documents coming. Please keep in constant communication with your loan originator, your loan officer, because they will always need more stuff until they say, guys, we're done.
Yeah.
But until you hear, guys, we're done, just make sure you keep in contact with them and keep providing them what they need. Now, the other thing is 401k. A lot of times people get money from their 401k or something. Again, that's fine. People say, well, it's my money. I understand it's your money. But again, we have to document it getting from your 401k.
And how is
which
it,
is usually some
and
sort of
how
an
is it
annuity
going
or
to be paid back? That's what
right.
they want to know.
Is it a loan
Yes.
against your 401k, or did you do a withdrawal from your 401k? If you did a withdrawal from your 401k,
Yes.
is it terms to pay back, or did you have to take a penalty against it? Those are the things that they need to know.
All right, now we went through all the income, all the assets. We didn't even talk about Social Security award letters or any of that being required, but, or pension letters. Those
On our
are all going
retired
to be
people.
asked, for retired people.
So if
all
you're
required.
retired, definitely more documents as well.
But first, it's really getting hot in here, so let's get a tip from Devin at McWilliams & Son. Let's see what his AC tip is this week. We'll be right back.
Hello everybody, my name is Devin with McWilliams & Son Air Conditioning. Today what I have is a digital Honeywell Wi-Fi thermostat. Do you have those old thermostats in your house? Maybe they're Mercury, they're old sliders. Did you know those thermostats could be costing you hundreds of dollars a year? How many times do you leave your house and forget to turn your thermostat off or even set the temperature up? That is free cooling that you're wasting while you're not home. This thermostat can allow you to correct that issue. If you forget to turn it off when you go home, you can program it to turn off before you leave for work and before you come home to turn back on. That way you're not coming home to a warm house. This thermostat allows you to control your unit wherever you are through a mobile app, either on your phone or tablet or even on your computer. Stop wasting money and start saving by giving us a call at McWilliams & Son, serving all your AC needs.
Another great tip from Devin.
I love Devin. I know, he is.
You do. How can you not like the
I
kid?
know.
He's
But
good.
it's summer down here, and,
It's
these are the
hot.
we all need to, find ways of saving money, and some of the stuff that Devin has helped us with over the last several months, with saving money during the summer
stuff.
for us Florida people.
Good stuff.
Great.
But you know what? You don't get to own or do AC repairs unless you buy the house. So
So
let's
back
get
to
through
buying
this
the house.
process.
I know. All right. So at this point, your loan originator has gathered all of the
Can I
documents.
use the word hopefully?
Hopefully, yes, has gathered all
Is
of the
that
documentation
appropriate?
together. Now, hopefully,
Hopefully.
at pre-qualification, way back at the top of this whole
He
thing.
had to know which type loan program he was going to put you in, whether it be a conventional loan, FHA loan, VA loan,
If you're a
USDA
veteran.
loan.
Right. Or if you needed down payment assistance. And again, depending upon every situation is totally unique. Every person is different, as we started to say with Tom and Tiffany, two different ways of looking at things. But we have to find the best product that fits the individual's person and fits into their financial picture the best.
And hopefully your loan originator made
done
it-
that.
Yeah, and he's made it very clear and which program is best for you and which one you'll fit in, because, you know, square pegs don't always fit in round holes.
Exactly. So the next step is they take all of the documentation and they put and you've done all of your e-signing on the application and everything else, and
Is
all
this-
of your inspections went well, and now we're going into processing and underwriting.
Because we didn't kill a tree or a
That's right. We
forest.
didn't kill a forest yet. So we're going to go into processing and underwriting. And basically, your processor's job is to verify everything. And your underwriter's job, of course, is to make sure that everything is met to the letter of the law, to the guidelines for
And
the
the processor's
product.
going to stack it and
Do
put it
your
in
verifications.
and put it all in order. Do all your verifications, including 4506T, which is the dreaded transcript from the IRS. You know, back in the days when people went to paystub.com and printed a pay stub and said, "Here's what I make."
I
Well, those days are gone. Now, whatever you know, even though you provided a tax return that looks legitimate, it's going to be verified with the
Right.
4506, and that transcript has to match exactly what you're showing for income. So Tom, being the construction man, his write-offs and everything are all going to be clearly, you know,
Right.
verified on that 4506T.
And it is mandatory on 100% of the files these days. What back in the day, Barry was talking about, you know,
Thanks, Dodd-Frank.
They only verified through the IRS a handful, you know, like a certain percentage of a lender's portfolio had to be verified. Now, all of them. It all has to do, right, with the new laws and regulations
Sure.
that went into place a number of years ago so that the whole bubble thing doesn't happen again. Everyone has to prove their income. You have to verify and prove
All
your
right,
income.
so we got all the stuff in. It's all stacked. It's all in
We need an
underwriting.
appraisal.
But and guess what? The value needs to come in. So
Right.
you're going to slap down 425, 475, whatever the rate is in your state, and that is the only fee now that the lender can collect up front.
Right.
I wanted to make sure. So if you're paying other fees, there might be a
Well, other than, keep in mind, you
inspections.
had your inspection
Right.
fees, and those things all cost money. So you don't get into a house for nothing. It does cost some upfront fees, and you need to be aware of that. To get your inspections done, usually, like, you know, depending upon where in the country you are, but somewhere between $300 to $400 to get inspections done. Appraisals are usually somewhere between
Hey,
$300 and $500 to
I
get
got a guy.
appraisals done.
I got a guy.
Okay. And you can't got a guy.
Oh, yeah. So even on the appraisal, remember, you do not get to pick who the appraiser is.
No.
The lender must use what they call an AMC, and they will randomly pick. So while you're providing maybe credit card information to the lender, that money is going to that AMC, and then that AMC is picking and hiring your appraisal for you. That hopefully will bring the value in, or,
Yes.
you know,
Because unfortunately, too much fraud was done in the days where there was people paying off
No.
appraisers under the table. People were paying off the
No.
appraisers. You know, the sellers were paying off the appraisers to come in higher, that kind of thing. And
That
so there
happened?
was, yes, way too much fraud. So that's why the
Yeah.
yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we get an appraisal ordered and everything comes in, and the underwriters, their job is to take a look at everything and verify it, make sure it fits all the programs, all the products, and
we got a conditional approval!
Yay!
So
We
we
have
got a
a-
closing now.
No, not quite. Almost. Not quite.
I'm leaving.
A conditional approval. He's leaving. Hang in here with me, Tom and Tiffany. We're almost there. You have what's called a conditional approval. That means the underwriter has approved your loan subject to, remember I said keep all that documentation coming until the underwriter says we're done? Keep all that documentation, because this is where the underwriter might say things like, well, we're going to need an additional pay stub. We're going to need, maybe an additional bank statement. Remember that $1,000 check you wrote out way back in the beginning? You wrote out this $1,000 check. It's called an earnest money check. I mean, we're going to need a copy of that check. We're going to need to see it coming out. We might need your bank printout to show where it cleared through your account, all kinds of things like that. So that's why it's
All
called a
right.
conditional approval.
Bottom line. You're
But we get those.
You're going to need more documentation.
More documentation.
Man,
That's why it says more documentation.
you thought you were done. I was going to closing without you. That's all there is to it. Okay. So what about, the reinspection?
And then, yes, sometimes.
Sometimes you actually need a reinspection because there's a wire hanging from the ceiling.
Something came up on the
Or-
appraisal.
Or we saw wood rot from termites or whatever the case may be. So now the appraiser has to go back out and make sure that was taken care of, called a reinspection. And guess who pays for that?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, not it.
As my kids go.
Not it. Not it.
Yes, unfortunately, Tom and Tiffany, that is up to you.
Yes, Tom. Sorry about that, buddy. I told you up front, though, this was going to be a grueling process, and you were going to hate me, but, they don't necessarily
But
hate
it all
me.
works out in the end.
Yeah,
So
you don't
sometimes,
need to hate
not
your
always,
lender.
but that's why, again, your realtor partner and your loan officer partner are really good friends of yours. And when they try and make
Who's
sure
your
things
buddy?
are done ahead of who's your buddy,
pal?
who's your friend.
Who's your pal? I am,
Stripes.
right?
Love that movie.
Ah, you got it. Good.
Oh, love that movie. But anyway,
I need a
so
spatula. Who's your buddy?
hopefully they will get all of the stuff done ahead of time before the appraiser goes out the first time, so there won't be a reinspection. But just so that you know, it does happen periodically, just things that could potentially delay things.
All right.
Anyway, then once all of that stuff is into the underwriter, she signs off on everything.
And you're-
We get
and you're completely drained. And
Now.
and now you want to go through a drawer of sharp objects.
that's right.
Now you're going to get your final approval.
Final approval,
And
and
you know
you
what?
are clear to close.
Yeah, but you know
Magic
what?
words.
Listen to me. Final approval means you're almost done. The word final to me means that's it, right?
Actually, yes. Once we are finally approved and clear to close, your file is moving on to the closing department.
Yes. So.
Yay.
Yeah.
So when it goes to the closing department, that is, then your closing department will prepare the closing package, and they will work closely with the title company, who will set up together, the two of them will figure out the best date and time to close, confirm it with you, what time you'd like to close.
Hopefully within your contract period.
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully you asked why it was 30 to 45 days, right? Well, here you go. There's a
Yep.
lot of people involved in getting you from the time you sign the contract to the time you sign the closing documents.
Right.
And a lot of things happen in the middle, and that's what we're trying to clear up for you.
And now we're going to get ready. Are we going to do a walkthrough or are we going to do a
Yes.
commercial
So
break?
once we have everything done, we're going to do our not yet. We're going to
Not
do
yet.
we're going to do a walkthrough. Your realtor will schedule once the title company and your realtor and the lender all schedule the closing. You're going to do it right before closing. You're going to go to the house and make sure everything looks good. It's called a walkthrough with your realtor. It's either right before closing or the day before closing to make sure everything is still the same way it was the day you signed that contract.
Or better.
Or better. Seldom is it better.
Well, it's
But this is a good
make
time
sure
to look at the house again.
The borrowers didn't come.
Well, sometimes what happens is, right, what happened on your
Have you
house.
seen that movie? The
Remember?
Borrowers came.
Oh, that's right, The
Remember The
Borrowers. I
Borrowers?
love that movie too. That was a good
We're
movie
on
too, The
movie week.
Borrowers.
That was a good one, though.
But
Yeah,
things
remember, yeah.
happen like with yours.
I'm under contract and, suddenly the microwave
Disappears.
Disappears. The dishwasher just walked
Day
out.
before closing,
Yeah.
gone.
I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So the seller threw me a small bone, very small.
So this is when your realtor will get together with the listing agent and the sellers, and they kind of figure out and hopefully negotiate some kind of a quick fix on this so that everybody is happy and the closing can still take place.
Yay.
But these are just some crazy little things that are sometimes
And they
out of
did
way.
send the wire. And we did the CD.
Send the wire, and you get a closing. It's called a closing disclosure.
What's a CD, Delaney?
It's called
Isn't
a closing
that-
disclosure.
That's something. That's an investment that pays 0.00001,
No,
right?
it used to be called the settlement statement or the HUD.
Now it's
If you
called
did
a
own a home
CD.
before this, again, we're speaking mostly to home buyers here. If you did own a home before, you used to be called a HUD. It has all the numbers on it. Now it's called a CD. So usually you will get this 3 days prior to closing. It might not be exactly perfect. They kind of like fix the numbers and tweak the numbers to make sure everybody's happy.
It might not be perfect.
Well, it's usually just moving lines. You know, this has to go to this line or this has to go to that line.
I like your analogy.
But in any event, you are going to know the figure usually 3 days prior to closing so that you can set up your wire. You will wire your portion of
All
the
right.
funds, the rest of your down
Delaney,
payment and your closing fees to the title company.
This is way too much information. Let's go to a commercial and let's just do a quick summary and make this maze easier and clearer for our buyers. Because Tom and Tiffany hate you right now.
No, they're just
They love
tired.
me because I made you work with them. They're like, Barry, he was a great guy.
They're tired at this point.
Yeah, they're
We'll-
exhausted.
We'll be right back.
Walk through life. Every day is a new beginning. Shine your light. It's a day and the world is waiting. Move along to the song, singing in your soul. Feel the beat, clap your hands, let it take control. All you need, all you want, are you ready to find your way? 'Cause every day is a new day. And everything's going your way. And you wanna make it last forever. We'll keep it together, 'cause it keeps getting better. Whoa, whoa.
Okay, now, Delyn, now that you've made everybody mad at you.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm
Actually,
really
not.
sorry.
You really will love. You love. You know what?
It's a lot. And hopefully
is a
not
lot.
mad at me. I'm sure you're tired at this point. Everybody gets tired. It's a lot.
So let's just go through the maze
So,
and
yeah,
summarize. Let's make it simple,
Bullet points.
clear, concise.
Get a pen. Write this
Bam.
down. Boom, boom,
Get
boom. Are we ready?
Here's the first step.
Number 1, you're going to get pre-qualified.
Okay, number 2, you're going to get a realtor, and hopefully you really love that realtor.
Number 3, you are going to sign a contract and you are going to write them an earnest money check.
Number 4, you're going to gather all those documents we told you to get.
Next, you are going to line up your inspections.
And then you're going to complete your application with your loan originator.
Next, you are going to get your insurance quotes. Very important to get those insurance quotes on the house up front within your first 10 days.
And then get any additional documentation that is required. That sounds so easy.
And then the file, there's going to be a quiet time that while it's
Right.
going through processing and underwriting, so give them a chance to do their job. And finally, we're approved and it goes to closing.
That was easy.
Ta-da! Ta-da! Yeah, we need it.
It's all
That was
done.
easy button.
Then it sounds so much easier when we talked about it that way.
I know.
I don't have a headache from that. That was easy. I really
Hopefully
liked
that
it.
gave you a bit
Now,
of a
Tom and Tiffany,
summary.
we gave you the grueling process, and then we gave you the outline. So Tom and Tiffany go, and they're happy homeowners.
And now at the closing, they gave them the keys.
Yes. And, they
And
get to-
congratulations, Tom and Tiffany. You are now happy homeowners.
And guess what? You still got to pack and move. Sorry. That's just part of it. That's not even part of what we do. We'll recommend you to a good mover. someday.
Yeah, we know good movers for you. Yeah, we're after
Nah,
this
we don't
point
do
we're
that.
tired too.
Yeah, I'm pretty exhausted. So let's talk about what's going on in the community and upcoming events.
Yes, let's.
Let's. You look at me with that blank stare.
We always have a lot
You're
going
still-
on, as you
she's
guys
still getting
know.
documents for the loan. I moved on to the events. So
Because in the midst of all of this stuff, we always have events that we're doing and
know.
stuff that's going on because we love our community and we love being out in our
Yes, we
community.
do.
And
Speaking of loving our community, I'm running for county commissioner.
I know.
If you haven't remembered that,
That's right.
November 8th is the vote, so it's a countywide vote. So keep me in mind for that. I have a meet and greet coming up at a local business, and we will continue to only do meet and greets at local businesses because we are huge supporters of local business.
Great.
And that would be on August 18th at Kickin' Wings on 52 in Hudson. It's at 6 o'clock in the evening, so stop on by.
And an awesome place to eat.
It's an awesome place. And
Get to
and-
meet you and eat great food.
And you know what? The owner there.
Barry's buying.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Rich is a great, he's in real estate himself, so he understands this process and knows what it's about. But he's also gives a lot back to the community. So kudos
Yes, he
to
does.
Kickin' Wings and Rich Sulkin
Right.
up there. And then we have WPBA's event, West Pasco Business Association. Let's talk about the amazing race, which was postponed due to the weather. And if you
We got rained out.
yeah, so on August 27th, that's at another local business, Boulevard Beef and Ale. The Amazing Race Photo Chase. It's going to be a scavenger hunt.
Scavenger hunt
It's gonna be
in
a-
downtown Newport Richie. It's going to be a blast.
Oh, it's going to be an awesome time. So.
I've worked with Maria, who heads up WPBA. She's our director of operations, and I've worked with her on putting some of this together. And she has come up with a list that you wouldn't believe. I was
That's gonna-
hysterically laughing.
it's gonna
This
be
is going to be so much fun.
so
grab a
much
team of 4. One person taking the picture. The other 3 have to do some things.
It's going to be a good time. So, all right, so let's move on the calendar. On to August.
September.
No, we're going to August
Oh, we're
31st
still in August.
first. Yeah. Fiddler's Green, we have another meet and greet with Vince.
Oh, good.
Another local business and community. And Julie Black.
Oh.
The band is going to be performing.
Very
She
nice.
is amazing and local, and it's going to be a great show. So you definitely don't want to miss that. And kudos to Vince over at Fiddler's Green, another great local small business that we want to support and get people out. And it's a great way to network, mix, and mingle. All right, now you can go to September.
And that's just August. And then September, of course, we have one of our WPBA West Pasco Business Association. One of our big events that we do every year is called Bowling for Boobs. And that is going to be on September 27th, the last Tuesday of September, because October is breast cancer awareness. So all the proceeds go to the American Cancer Society to help fight breast cancer. And that's another thing that sells out really fast. So I'm telling you about it now. Please go to WPBA.biz
You
and actually
definitely
all
wanna
of
go.
these events.
Yeah, you can go to WPBA.biz for the Amazing Race, get your team signed
Right.
up. If you want to know more about the meet and greets, go to barryforpasco.com. And of course, get us out on social media, like us, share us. We want to promote your events, and we want to support you, the people here in our community. So.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please, again, share this show, like us, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that stuff. This is definitely a show to get out to you. If you are a realtor, please get this out to your home buyers, people who are listing their house and
'Cause they
moving
wanna
on,
know what's going
or
on.
first-time home buyers. Hopefully, it gave them a good kind of synopsis of what to expect as they go through the house hunting to home buying.
Another new word for you, synopsis.
Synopsis. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We are Today and Every Day.
Moving forward.
We'll see everyone next week. Bye-bye.